All right, let's jump right into this explainer and look at a pretty fascinating global mystery. Right now, every single year, staggering amounts of wealth, we're talking literally billions of dollars, are quietly packing their bags, leaving some of the world's biggest economies. And an ever-increasing chunk of that capital, well, it's heading straight for the United Arab Emirates. It is a massive wealth migration. But, what's actually driving this? Is it just internet hype, or is there a foundational shift happening in global finance? Let's figure it out. Now, you might be asking yourself the obvious question here. Is it simply because Dubai has no personal income tax? I mean, it's the headline we see plastered absolutely everywhere, right? But the reality is that the world's wealthiest people, multinational entrepreneurs, family offices, massive institutional investors, they rarely move their money, let alone their entire lives, without a much deeper, far more fascinating financial strategy at play. Look, we definitely have to acknowledge the obvious surface layer here. That bold 0% personal income tax is a huge draw. It absolutely gets people's attention, for sure. But what's really interesting is what that big zero actually leaves out. It paints this kind of incomplete picture, making it seem like a 0% tax rate is just some magical instant fix to all financial obligations. And that brings us to a really crucial point: the massive gap between expectation and reality. Moving to the UAE doesn't magically erase your home country's tax bills. Depending on your citizenship and exactly where your businesses operate, you still have rules to follow. Plus, the UAE itself has evolved quite a bit recently. Businesses now have to navigate newly introduced corporate taxes and really rigorous international compliance standards. It's a highly structured system, not some sort of financial free-for-all. So, if we peel back the layers of the onion a bit, if people aren't just moving to dodge taxes, what's the actual foundation attracting all this wealth? Let's dive a little deeper. Moving into Section 1, the core, geopolitical certainty and the strategic crossroads. Way beyond just tax efficiency, the institutional reason ultra-high net worth individuals are relocating is the search for absolute political and economic stability. Basically, they're looking for a safe harbor in a world that feels increasingly unpredictable. For billionaires and multinational corporations, an unshakable government, highly diversified economic growth, and a local currency, the dirham, that's pegged directly to the US dollar, well, that matters a whole lot more than chasing high-risk, short-term returns. It's all about high investor confidence. To really capitalize on this stability, the UAE uses these incredible economic tools called free zones. Think of them as designated geographical areas that allow 100% foreign ownership. They're specifically designed to boost international trade by offering custom regulatory benefits. Essentially, they act as totally frictionless launchpads for global entrepreneurs who want to expand their footprint. And when you combine those free zones with a really staggering list of logistical infrastructure, the whole picture just snaps into focus. I mean, think about the sheer geographic scale here. You've got unmatched access bridging Asia, Europe, and Africa. Between the world-class international airports and the massive DP World shipping ports, the UAE has strategically positioned itself as the literal crossroads of global trade. There's a quote I absolutely love that hits the nail on the head. Location itself creates financial value. What you should really take away from this is that simply being headquartered in the right geographical time zone, effortlessly bridging that gap between East and West, gives these global businesses an overwhelming competitive advantage. Okay, so we've covered the tax nuances and the geographical brilliance. But let's shift gears for a second, because the next reason we're going to explore completely changes how this wealth is maintained once it actually lands in the country. Which brings us to Section 2, the infrastructure, protecting the billions and the lifestyle magnet. You see, once the billions arrive, they can't just sit there. They need to be protected, managed, and grown within a highly sophisticated, internationally compliant financial ecosystem. And the UAE has built world-class asset protection frameworks to handle this exact need. We're talking advanced family office setups, elite wealth management, international banking, and secure trust structures. And this is absolutely crucial. They enforce rigorous compliance standards like anti-money laundering and know your customer rules through financial centers like the DIFC and ADGM. This ensures it remains a premier hub for legitimate global finance. And that brings us to a really fascinating psychological insight. It's pretty simple. Money always follows people. Business owners don't just move their spreadsheets, their corporate headquarters, and their bank accounts. They move their physical lives. They move their families. Think about the magnetic pull of those lifestyle factors: uncompromising personal safety, ultra-luxury modern infrastructure, elite international schools for the kids, and top-tier healthcare. Coupled with golden visa residency options that give investors long-term peace of mind, it completely takes the stress out of relocating. It makes it a really easy decision for the wealthy to just permanently move their entire lives over. Now for Section 3, the reality check, risks and global competitors. Look, as impartial observers guiding you through this explainer, we definitely have to step back and look at the risks that often get glossed over. Because let's be real, no financial destination on Earth is a perfect utopia. Investors face some very real challenges on the ground. There's a surging cost of living and a highly competitive, sometimes pretty volatile real estate market. On top of that, maintaining international legal compliance is a heavy administrative burden. The global business environment there is intensely competitive, and it requires serious operational discipline to actually succeed. Plus, they aren't the only game in town. When you stack them up against the other titans of global finance, you can really see how each jurisdiction appeals to very different types of capital. Switzerland has its historic, deeply entrenched banking legacy. Singapore offers unmatched access to Asian markets. Luxembourg is an absolute heavyweight for European funds. The UAE is competing aggressively across all these fronts: tax structure, wealth management, connectivity, and political stability. But it is operating in a fiercely competitive global landscape. So, after peeling back all these layers, from the initial tax myths to the geopolitical logistics, the financial infrastructure, and those lifestyle magnets, the overarching strategy driving this wealth migration becomes incredibly clear. Why are they really choosing the UAE? Well, it essentially boils down to this. The world's wealthiest investors don't chase shortcuts. They look for certainty. In an increasingly unpredictable world, the ultimate financial strategy isn't just about saving a few percentage points on taxes. It's about buying systemic, unshakable certainty. And that comprehensive stability might just be the UAE's most valuable asset. That brings this explainer to a close, but it leaves us with one crucial final question to chew on. As global volatility continues to rise and the economic map aggressively redraws itself, where will the next wave of wealth flow? Understanding these strategic shifts is absolutely key to understanding the future of global finance. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll see you in the next one.